Hey guys, today I got 2 circuits for you to try out to target your abs and core. One is a mix of hanging and cable work, and the other is a dumbbell circuit. These are some of my go-to exercises for abs and core lately, so let's get right into it. First up is a 3 exercise circuit starting off with hanging side crunches. Anything hanging is challenging when done correctly because you're fighting for stabilization, you're having to hold yourself up, and then also just brace and go through the movements correctly. So they are definitely just overall very taxing movements, but you can get really good at them with repetition and consistency. So here we are just aiming for 5 reps on each side. So you'll do 5 reps on one side and then immediately turn the opposite direction to do the other side. Now, if hanging is too difficult to start off for you, you can also do these off a back supported hanging ab machine, which most gyms do have. So you can hold yourself up without having to rely on your grip strength. But then after I perform 5 on each side, I will actually drop down for a few seconds to relax before getting back up into the second exercise, which is hanging knee tucks, just because it is very taxing on your grip strength. And I'm telling you this because these are circuits, but both of these circuits are very, very taxing on your core and abdominal muscles. And so in order to be able to perform, optimally for your fitness level, if you need to take a little breather between these exercises in order to do so, that is completely fine. You just want to try to get back into it as quickly as you can and take your full rest break at the end of the circuit. And now moving into the hanging knee tucks, you are doing 10 reps here. So with both hanging variations, you need to be sure you are stabilizing yourself by bracing your core and staying tight throughout each rep. You don't want to be swaying all over the place. You really want to try to keep that under control as much as possible. Obviously, the more fatigued you get, you may have a little bit more movement versus the beginning of your set, but just try to keep it under control as much as you can. And so to get the most out of your abs here, you want to be sure that you are bringing your knees up high enough to where you aren't just doing a hip flexor exercise, but actually contracting your abs fully. If you look as I bring my knees up and in, there's a little rounding happening versus only bringing my knees to parallel and staying straight start to finish. That little rounding is where you will really feel your abs fire up and contract fully at the top. So that is what we want to do here. I then will get down on the cable and get into my favorite ab exercise, cable rope crunches for 20 reps. So my main tip here is for these, your hips need to be put into place and then lock them there. So you should have 0 movement from the hips or lower body happening. All of what's going on is up top and on your abs. So what you can do is hold the rope at the sides of your head like I am, in front of your head, by your neck. There's many different ways to hold it. I suggest the way that feels the most comfortable for you. I've always been a head holder, so that's where I keep it. Now I will take a big breath in, brace my core, and then as I curl down, drawing my elbows towards my legs, I will slowly push the air out. So as I reach the bottom, all the air is out and my abs are fully contracted. I will then pause for a second and then come up and do it all over again. So you want to be sure to use challenging weight and really focus on controlling your reps and letting your abs do all the work. And so those 3 movements are going to be making up the first circuit. So do this circuit 2 to 4 times depending on what works with your current training. Circuit 2, you will need 2 dumbbells, one heavier and one lighter. The heavier one will be used first for your first exercise, which are dead bugs. Dead bugs are an amazing and challenging core exercise when done properly. So for this variation, you will hold your dumbbell straight above you, staying tight, and you want your core to be fully engaged and braced the entire way through. So that means that your back should be glued to the ground throughout. There should be 0 opening from your back and the ground throughout the entire movement. So you will then slowly move one leg out and then the other while maintaining contact with the floor and your back. Now, when I say heavy dumbbell, I mean heavy for your experience level, but if you are comfortable with this movement and want to truly challenge yourself and your core, just like any other exercise and muscle group, the weight being used needs to align with the reps and be challenging enough on the muscles being targeted. So don't go and just grab a super light dumbbell just because it's ab work. At the end of the day, you still need to be challenging those muscle groups just like you would with any other muscle group that you are trying to target. You're doing 10 reps on each leg. So you want each leg to go out one time for that to count as one full rep, 10 times, and then you're immediately going to get into the next exercise. You now want to drop the heavy dumbbell and grab your lighter dumbbell, which should still be challenging, but it will most likely need to be lighter just because you are now holding it with one arm here. And so what we are doing is single arm crunches, but I am actually incorporating a little mini internal twist. So let me explain. Your core needs to be engaged with the floor as with all these movements, and you will crunch up toward the opposite direction by bringing that dumbbell up and slightly rotating in. The twist in this movement in general is very minimal, so it's kind of hard to tell, but the contraction you get is very intense. So as you come up, you also want to be pushing all of your air out here so you get that full tight contraction at the top. It's always funny watching these movements back, thinking how simple and plain they seem, but just knowing how challenging they actually are when you're doing them, it is like night and day. So you are doing 12 reps on one side and then swap hands and do 12 on the other. You are then immediately going to flip over and get into plank dumbbell pull-throughs, another challenging core movement. So the wider your feet are placed, the easier it is to stabilize, so just keep that in mind when setting up for this exercise. You will then pull the dumbbell from one side to the other, swapping hands each time. Now the challenging part here is to keep your entire body still and have zero or as minimal movement as possible. You don't want your hips to move, you don't want to be shifting side to side, nothing. You want to be as still as humanly possible while doing this. So that's the hard part. The second you start swaying side to side, shifting your weight all around, it's no longer a challenging core exercise or nearly as challenging as it could and should be. So make sure you just try to stay as still as possible, and the only movement happening is when you are dragging that dumbbell, but keeping your hips square and keeping that core tight and engaged is what is the challenge here. So you are doing 10 reps, which is pulling the dumbbell 10 each way for this exercise. And last in the circuit is lying dumbbell knee tucks. Same cues apply here with keeping your core engaged and back glued to the floor throughout. Now the hardest part here is keeping that engagement when you are fully out with the dumbbell behind you and your legs straight out. So how high or low you keep your legs will really depend on where your core strength is at and what will help you keep the best engagement possible. So you have 10 reps of these, and then once you've completed all 4 exercises, rest a few minutes and go again for 2 to 4 sets. These are 2 separate circuits, so pick one and try it out. You don't need to do both in one day. That is a lot of ab volume. If you want to do both, maybe do one day of the week and one on another day. Both of these circuits are a great mix of core and abdominal exercises to strengthen and define your midsection. So try them out. Let me know how it goes. If you are looking for more structured training, you can find my 12-week workout program in the description box below. My entire fit is from Gymshark. You can find more details on that in the description box below as well. Make sure to subscribe for more workouts like this, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys.